Morning all, let's start our daily review with a video. Picture says 1,000 words, so to speak, so it makes it a little bit easier for me to explain what I'm looking at and where I'm going. So I'll just do Bitcoin and Ethereum just for now. I want to have a closer look at the alts because we may get some action on them soon, possibly, depending on a chart I'm going to show you soon. So the last few days we haven't really finished off this parabolic move. Now we did go parabolic here, but typically you'll see a large wick and a blow off candle on the daily, or at least the 4-hour candle. We haven't got that. We hit resistance and we've just consolidated and stagnated. That big candle there filled a gap on the futures market, if you can see here, right there. Quite often gaps get filled. Let's have a look at a few other gaps. That was a really big gap. There's a gap here, got filled, gap, filled, gap, gap. All these gaps, they all got filled. That one there only just got filled by this candle here. So that's on the daily. If we go back to the current weekend, it did actually get filled with that wick there, but if you look on the intradays, on the even the 4-hour, let's look at the 4-hour. Oops, that's the 1 hour. The 4-hour here, this gap got filled with this wick. You saw that one just then on the daily. This gap hasn't been filled on the intraday, so I'm not sure whether that will get filled. It has been, because it has been filled on the daily, so time will tell. And I do anticipate still a move lower on Bitcoin, and still potentially a move up, but it's going to need to break 8,400 with some pretty solid momentum to get the rest of this parabolic move. Otherwise we could very well just do a double triple top here and sell off. So pretty crucial time here. It's going to be hard to get in a trade either way. If it breaks 8,400, it's a pretty easy trade though, that's for sure. So I threw in a few extra trend lines yesterday, pretty messy, not clean, so I'll go back to the ones I originally had. This is the pennant I drew in that was potentially forming. So this line, this top line now is nearly validated. A rejection of here and a rejection of 7,400 area would make that a really nice pennant. So if we broke down below, say if we got to 7,100 or even below this previous low, 7,000, that would be a pretty good indication that we have topped out and we're going to retrace a bit deeper. But we break this pennant. We've also got to break this top at 8,400 because it could be a fake out. So we want a nice close above 8,400 to go long on this. But this is a continuation pattern. There's a pole, there's a pennant. Some people call them flags. They are slightly different, but we can still continue and go higher. But we certainly have stalled on the higher time frames, which indicate the parabolic move may have come to an end just for now. But I'll just show you Bitcoin dominance as well, which I haven't really looked at this chart too much over time, but I'm going to start paying a little bit more attention to it now that we're trading Binance coins. Bitcoin dominance has broken a pretty clean, significant wedge right here. So that was quite possibly due to Bitcoin Cash and Craig Wright supposedly getting copyright for the Bitcoin white paper and all that sort of stuff. So bear in mind he hasn't been recognised as Satoshi Nakamoto, and nor will he. I think all he's done is just dug himself a hole. Now the federal government and all the regulators have got a fall guy they can lock up forever and seize all his wallets. So if he is actually Satoshi, I'd like to see him move some Bitcoin out of his wallet. That'd be proof enough for me. But in the meantime, he's been approved. He hasn't been granted anything. So it's a shame that this guy's Australian. Actually, I think he's a stain. So anyway, nonetheless, getting back to it, we've broken down below a rising wedge on Bitcoin dominance. So what does that mean? That potentially means we're going to fall away in Bitcoin dominance, so that money needs to flow somewhere else. Where's it going to go? Possibly some high cap coins first, and then we're going to go to some shit coins. So we could get a bit of an alt season here, and the way that Bitcoin is tracking sideways would also indicate we might get some altcoin action. And yesterday there were actually some pretty big moves in some of the altcoins, so just bear that in mind. A fall in dominance can sometimes and often lead to altcoin action, and that's what we've got here. So we've got a bit of room to go to this previous low here for some altcoin action, but it could very well bounce off this level and go again a bit higher, because on the daily I've got that as a pretty strong support line for Bitcoin dominance. So we don't want to get too carried away with the massive alt season, but we might get a bit of action for a couple of days. What else can I give you guys on Bitcoin? Not much. Let's have a quick look at the 1 hour. It's disappointing that we've tracked sideways. Jack on the lower time frames called a trade. He had a nice little triangle in here, but we popped out the top of it, so that's no longer valid. We're tracking sideways just like we did here, so we could get, you know, the old Bart Simpson either up or down, who knows. I wouldn't mind it dropping down to 5,400 area. That would validate the bottom of my pennant, and we can look to have another crack at 8,400, but it really can go either way at the moment. I'm not a big fan of trading inside a pattern, that pattern being the pennant that I just explained to you. So not really any trades for me. Jack could very well find some nice little quick scalps for us, but we'll just have to wait and see. So what opportunities do we have if we haven't got much on Bitcoin? Ethereum BTC daily. Let's look at this. Pretty strong support level here. We haven't pulled all the way back to it, but we've come close to a break and a retest of the 50 EMA. I'm a little bit cautious of it. The 50 EMA hasn't really been very strong support and resistance through this price action. It's just chopped straight through with no, with no support or resistance where it did here. It rejected here. That's what an EMA is. It's dynamic support and resistance, which hasn't been validated here. So just cautious of that. But lower time frames, if you have a look at this. Support level here, so we had a rejection there, break, retest, and then supported a little bit of sideways consolidation. I drew in this falling wedge, but it wasn't valid because it didn't break out. It just sort of chopped through the end of it, so it's not really valid, but now we are getting some momentum back up off of this support level. The 1 hour 50 EMA is a little bit better dynamic support and resistance, so we've broken and retesting that now. So have we got a trade? Quite possibly. I'm going to look a little bit closer. That's Ethereum BTC, so we could see Ethereum outperform in the next coming days or week or so. This pennant I drew in here, we've also broken out the top. It could still be a fake out. We could still drop back in and below the support level, but this Ethereum's starting to look little bit bullish on the US dollar pair and also the Bitcoin pair. So I just want to be careful that I've got my top line on my pennant right, because it could actually be here. So I just don't want to enter this too early and make sure we've got ourselves in a fake out. But I do like the look of Ethereum currently, so I'll be looking for this region here to break with some momentum in the next day or two. So that's really what I've got for Bitcoin and Ethereum. I'll stop the video there. You've had a look at Bitcoin dominance now. Now that we're trading Binance pairs, we're going to spend a little bit more time looking at that, see if we can find correlations into how we can pick alt seasons, and from there moving forward, I'll have a little bit more of a look at the BitMEX alt coins today, see if we can find anything, but from my first initial glance it's pretty choppy. So hang in there guys, we're all hanging out for some trades. We've just got to be patient and make sure we get the right ones.